Welcome to FORO Politico, free and independent. This is Latino PBS. Today is July 29, 2016. We have a great show, a lot of information. We are going to talk mainly about the Democratic National Convention that just finished. Thousands of Democrats got together at Philadelphia to support their candidate, now officially Secretary Hillary Clinton. During this program, we will show some of the speeches by members of this party. We have to tell you that when we thought about these big protests outside the Wells Fargo facility, there were only few, mainly the first 2 days of that convention, and they were part of Bernie Sanders' campaign. The first day of the event was with a lot of uncertainty because of the resignation by the president of the Democratic National Party, David Wasserman Schultz. According to the Associated Press, they find out some emails that where she favored Secretary Clinton, leaving Senator Sanders isolated without any chances to become the nominee for the Democratic Party. Those emails were revealed by the organization WikiLeaks, and according to the director of this organization, Julian Assange, they released this information because they did not reveal the source. There is a speculation that the DNC was hijacked by the Russian hijackers, something that has not been confirmed. So far, there is an investigation by the FBI. Some people think that Mr. Vladimir Putin is behind this espionage. We do not know for sure. Also, there is conspiracies that Mr. Putin is helping that Republican candidate. In one press conference, this candidate asked the Russian hijacker to find out the 30,000 emails that were supposedly erased by Mrs. Clinton. Later, this candidate said that his comment was sarcastic. As you can see, the stakes for the White House they are extremely high. We have not seen a presidential election like this. Two candidates. As the former President Clinton said, one is real and the other is a cartoon. One is real and the other is fake. We have a Democratic convention talking about the issues that concern the American people. For example, the economy, better jobs, immigration, climate change, financing political campaigns, free trade, national and international security, terrorism, helping the middle class, the health reform, energy. And one of the things that characterize this country is that we have seen a lot of compassion, generosity, and the will to unite this party. We can see Latinos, Asian, Muslims, blacks, white, young, old, children, women, men, gays, lesbians. We saw the real America. That one the worst, that one the clean, that one the sweat, the America that make the minimum wage, the one that borrow money to buy his house, the America that came to this country looking for a better life. We saw the face of the poor America. We also the dream that one day the political and economically establishment will change. The party from John F. Kennedy, from Bob Kennedy, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders, Michelle Obama, Cory Booker, Tim Kaine, Mario Cuomo, Antonio Villaraigosa, Jerry Brown, Eric Garcetti, and many, many more. This is a strong party with compassion and generosity for the children, for the handicapped, for the poor, for the immigrants, the workers, the farm workers, for the one that is behind. Please stay with us. We have a great show. It's not about me or about us. It's about the country. It's about America. It's about the land of the free and the brave. And I want to welcome our panelists today, Mr. Figueroa, an immigrant advocate. Thank you very much for joining us once again, Mr. Figueroa. And also Mrs. Victoria Vaca. Thank you very much, Mrs. Victoria Vaca. And I want to apologize for this inconvenience that we have no air condition today. If you're sweating a little bit, I apologize for that things. But Maybe it's part of the action, maybe the part of that
It could
after
be.
that Democratic convention
It
that we
is.
can see thousands of
It
people
was hot.
supporting. It was hot. We had to pay the price. But we're going to start showing to you some part of the speech that was amazing speech by the First Lady, Michelle Obama.
You see, Hillary understands that the president is about one thing and one thing only. It's about leaving something better for our kids. That's how we've always moved this country forward, by all of us coming together on behalf of our children. Folks who volunteer to coach that team, to teach that Sunday school class, because they know it takes a village. Heroes of every color and creed who wear the uniform and risk their lives to keep passing down those blessings of liberty. Police officers and protesters in Dallas who all desperately want to keep our children safe. People who lined up in Orlando to donate blood because it could have been their son, their daughter in that club. Leaders like Tim Kaine, who show our kids what decency and devotion look like. Leaders like Hillary Clinton, who has the guts and the grace to keep coming back and putting those cracks in that highest and hardest glass ceiling until she finally breaks through, lifting all of us along with her. That is the story of this country, the story that has brought me to this stage tonight, the story of generations of people who felt the lash of bondage, the shame of servitude, the sting of segregation, but who kept on striving and hoping and doing what needed to be done, so that today I wake up every morning in a house that was built by slaves. And I watch my daughters, two beautiful, intelligent black young women, playing with their dogs on the White House lawn. And because of Hillary Clinton, my daughters and all our sons and daughters now take for granted that a woman can be president of the United States. So look, don't let anyone ever tell you that this country isn't great, that somehow we need to make it great again, because this right now is the greatest country on earth. And as my daughters prepare to set out into the world, I want a leader who is worthy of that truth. A leader who is worthy of my girls' promise and all our kids' promise. A leader who will be guided every day by the love and hope and impossibly big dreams that we all have for our children. So in this election, we cannot sit back and hope that everything works out for the best. We cannot afford to be tired or frustrated or cynical. No, hear me. Between now and November, we need to do what we did 8 years ago and 4 years ago. We need to knock on every door. We need to get out every vote. We need to pour every last ounce of our passion and our strength and our love for this country into electing Hillary Clinton as President of the United States of America. So let's get to work. Thank you all, and God bless.
This was the first day of the Democratic National Convention. A speech with conviction, passion, and generosity. A woman can be president of the United States, is what the First Lady said. Your take on this, the first day of the speech from Michelle Obama, Mrs. Baca?
Well, what I have to say first and foremost is that the speech is original. It couldn't be copied, it couldn't be plagiarized, because no one has ever said what Michelle Obama, the First Lady of our country, said on that night. You just saw it. It's genuine, it's from her heart, and you saw some of the people in the audience that were moved to tears because of the history of the White House and where we are today. And I agree with her. You know, I don't go for that rhetoric, let's make America great again. You know, what does that mean? Like we're torn apart, like we're shreds, like we've been invaded, like we've been bombed? You know, we've had our problems, but it's because, we're so diverse. And we're going to continue to grow. I mean, we've come a long way. And it's true, we are the best nation in the world.
Mr. Figueroa, a day before the opening of the Democratic National Convention, the director from the Democratic Party, Mrs. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, resigned because there was some emails that they were not favored. They were favored Mrs. Clinton, isolating Mrs. Bernie Sanders. Do you think that was the best thing the Democratic Party did it to make her to resign?
Bravo. I think they held her accountable, unlike the Republicans where they play the blame game. I'm really proud that the Democratic Party did this and to show that they walk what they talk and they're going to clean it out. But this goes beyond just the emails. This goes beyond a history that she had with fighting with many Democratic individuals. So she lacked the support to stay the chair of the DNC, and it showed.
That one that released those emails was the director, Julian Assange, the director of WikiLeaks. However, he did not release the source of the information. And there's many conspiracies. That was the Russian, was Vladimir Putin. Do you think that it's dangerous to the country to tell the other country or to the other president, let us know, helping us to destroy the candidate? Even
Republicans are calling it treason, that Donald Trump committed treason. Even this morning, as I was driving here, Donald Trump is giving a press thing, explaining his relationship with Vladimir Putin. The FBI are investigating, and people are looking at, is Donald Trump the Manchurian candidate? Is he a plant by the Russians?
I'm going to ask you to hold it, and we're going to take a first break, but we're going to see part of the speech by the senator.
And Hillary Clinton knows what Donald Trump betrays time and time again in this campaign, that we are not a zero-sum nation. It is not you or me. It is not one America against another American. It is you and I, together, interdependent, interconnected, with one single interwoven destiny. When we respect each other, when we stand up for each other, when we work together against our challenges, against our neighbor's challenges, be it a neighbor with a beautiful special needs child or one struggling with the ugly disease of addiction. When we as Americans help them, when we show compassion and grace, when we evidence our truth that we are the United States of America, one nation, under God, indivisible, that is when we are stronger. That is when we go from an already great America to an even greater America. Now let me tell you right now, when Trump spews insulting and demeaning words about our fellow Americans, I think of that poem by Maya Angelou. Y'all know it. You know how it begins. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Well, y'all know it. Y'all know it. This captures our American history. 240 years ago, An English king said he would crush our rebellion. But Americans from around our nation joined the fight. From Bunker Hill to the Battle of Trenton, they stood, and so many fell, giving their lives in support of our daring declaration that America, we will rise. This is our history.
We're talking about the Democratic National Convention. In this segment, we will talk about the second day of this event. We start with the roll call where Senator Bernie Sanders named Secretary Clinton the official nominee for the Democratic Party.
I'm Donnie Deans, Chair of the Vermont Democratic Party. On behalf of the great state of Vermont, a state that helped fight and win the revolution that gave birth to our United States of America, the state that helped fight and win the political revolution of 2016, thanks to our Senator Bernie Sanders. A state whose leaders denounced the demagoguery of Joseph McCarthy, and today whose leaders like Madeline Kunin, Howard Dean, Peter Welch, and our own Senator Leahy speak out against the modern-day McCarthy, Donald Trump. On behalf of the home state of Senator Bernie Sanders, who has changed the trajectory of this country in a way that will make the lives of working Americans better for generations to come. Vermont, cast our votes. Vermont casts our votes. 22 votes for our beloved Senator Sanders. And 4 for the next president, Hillary Clinton. It is now my honor to present our Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I move that the convention suspend the procedural rules. I move that all votes cast by delegates be reflected in the official record. And I move that Hillary Clinton be selected as the nominee of the Democratic Party for President of the United States.
In the primaries, he was a rival, who was the opponent, but now in politics, things change. Mr. Figueroa, after the first day, there were some protesters. But then the second day, once Mr. Sanders made the declaration, it looks like everything changed. Did he unite the party with that?
I think he was one of the most important people that united the party. We cannot excuse Michelle Obama, as we saw. We cannot excuse President Bill Clinton, as well as President Barack Obama. It was a united effort in General Allen. But I will have to say, when I look at that speech, I think of George Washington in a speech that he made ending his presidency, when he said, we must be honorable men so that wise men can only aspire. And what we saw here with Bernie was true integrity.
I want you to ask you the same thing, Mrs. Baca, but I know that you're a real Democrat. You told me a few shows before. With that thing that he did it, Do you think his supporters will join Mrs. Clinton, Secretary Clinton?
I think that a lot of them will. And, my hat goes off to Senator Bernie Sanders. I have a new respect for him. Like I mentioned before, I've been a staunch Hillary Clinton supporter since 2008 when she ran against President Obama. But she did the right thing, and she showed a lot of class. And I think that Bernie Sanders has stepped up to that level and showed a lot of class and put his own ambition, his own desire to be president of this great nation, and said Hillary Clinton should be president. And I think that he has a lot of respect from a lot of people. And I believe that many of his supporters will endorse and vote for Hillary Clinton. I really believe.
One of the things that we did not see in the Republican convention was when Mr. Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas, he supposedly endorsed Mr. Trump in something.
Can I say something about that?
Sure.
I also have a new respect for Ted Cruz because Trump insulted his father. Trump insulted his wife, and Ted Cruz did the right thing. He did the right thing, and I have a new respect for him.
And that same comment, Mr. Figueroa, when that happened, that divided more the Republican Party. Also, when we did not see the Bushes, when we did not see Mitt Romney, when we did not see John McCain, when we see that a different convention.
The big story that we saw this morning is Republicans for Hillary. We had the Reagan Democrats, we're having the Republican for Hillary. It's completely switched. In fact, one person said the parties have switched, where Hillary's speech was being compared to Reagan's speech, to Bush's speech, Kennedy's speech, and Donald Trump's speech was being compared to McCarthy. It was being compared to all the prior to Nixon's, and we all know the history with them, that they brought this country to chaos.
In that convention in Cleveland, we saw the people, the Republicans screaming, lock her up, put in jail. We saw hate in that convention, different with this Democratic convention, the opposite.
Well, it's been said by George Bush and Lindsey Graham that Donald Trump appeals to the lowest common denominator in people. And it appears that Hillary appeals to the best in people. What can we do to make it better? So there was this convention was night and day. I felt Trump, I felt like I was watching Lord of the Rings, the dark thing coming over our country. Hillary, I felt like I was watching a new day in America. It was fabulous.
I know that it's not good to do comparisons between one and the other one, but in this case, because it's a historic moment for the United States. Later, we're going to show about the speech by Mrs. Clinton, but in Mrs. Clinton's speech, she mentioned about what happened 240 years ago when that was the vision and the 13 colonies to separate from the king. Right. And then they say, okay, we have to unite it today because it's what we needed. And he mentioned we're stronger together.
Yes.
And those words unite the party.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And she did speak of how this nation was created and how we wanted to get away from a tyrant, a king, and how we are a democracy, how we are a republic, right? And we are the greatest nation in the world. We are. And it's why people from all over the world come here. And we're not, homogeneous. We're a very diverse community. And if you looked at her audience, we were a very diverse audience. And we have a country, like I said, it's a republic. And she says, if anyone thinks that one man can do all these things, you're wrong. And she's talking about Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump is a candidate, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And we know that that's not how our government works. The president is the leader of our country. We don't live under a tyrant. Excuse me. We don't live under a tyrant. We don't have a king and a queen. We have a republic. And that's how our government works. And what Trump is saying, people want to hear, for example, build a wall around Mexico. And even Republicans have come out to say, that's not going to happen. Republicans have said that. It's not going to happen. And we're not going to isolate ourselves. We're not going to build a wall away from our neighbors. We're not going to do that because the United States and Mexico have a very good working relationship. And they've been our neighbors for forever. And we have agreements with them. And we're not building a wall.
Talking about the king and the queen, this was the second part of the convention with Mr. Clinton, the former president, talk about his wife, his partner, and the very thing that could happen to him. And he described Secretary Clinton as a woman that keeps rolling and do not rest to help the other ones. Let's see this part of the speech by Mr. Clinton.
Praise from prominent Republicans when she was a senator and Secretary of State. So what's up with this? Well, if you win elections on the theory that government is always bad and will mess up a two-car parade, a real change maker represents a real threat. So, your only option is to create a cartoon alternative. Then run against the cartoon. Cartoons are two-dimensional. They're easy to absorb. Life in the real world is complicated, and real change is hard. And a lot of people even think it's boring. Good for you, because earlier today, you nominated the real one. Listen. We got to get back on schedule. You guys calm down. Look, I have lived a long, full, blessed life. It really took off when I met and fell in love with that girl in the spring of 1971. When I was president, I worked hard to give you more peace and shared prosperity, to give you an America where nobody is invisible or counted out. But for this time, Hillary is uniquely qualified to seize the opportunities and reduce the risk we face. And she is still the best darn change maker I have ever known. You could drop her. You could drop her into any trouble spot. Pick one. Come back in a month, and somehow, some way, she will have made it better. That is just who she is. There are clear, achievable, affordable responses to our challenges. But we won't get to them if America makes the wrong choice in this election. That's why you should elect her. And you should elect her because she'll never quit when the going gets tough. She'll never quit on you. She sent me in this primary to West Virginia, where she knew we were going to lose, to look those coal miners in the eye and say, I'm down here because Hillary sent me to tell you that if you really think you can get the economy back you had 50 years ago, have at it, go wherever you want to. But if she wins, she is coming back for you to take you along on the ride to America's future. And so
when we come back, we're going to talk more about President Clinton's speech and also the President of the United States, Mr. Barack Obama. Please stay with us. This is Foro Politico, and this is Latino PBS. something historic that second day of that convention. With Secretary Clinton, from a video, she participated in that Democratic convention. When you were seeing that video, Mrs. Baca, and they were showing all the presidents, and the people were screaming, and at the end of the video, shows Secretary Clinton. What was your feeling?
It's like, wow. It's like, I can't believe it. I'm glad that my daughter and my granddaughter are being part of history, that we're in this time. It's just fabulous. It's like, is it really happening? I mean, when Barack Obama was the nominee, I'm like, is it possible that we can elect an African-American man? I'm like, I didn't think we could do it. I really didn't. But, I worked hard. I worked hard on the campaign and, pushed forward. And when he was elected, I was like, wow, right? And, it's unfortunate. Like I said, I was supporting Hillary Clinton. But we made history. And now, here we are again, making history again. And we're part of it. My daughter's part of it. My granddaughter's part of it. And we saw the human side of Hillary Clinton in that video where it showed her, her life and where she started. And when she talks about her mother, last night she talked about her mother not having lunch money and that somebody mentored her. When she talked about her father starting a business. It just showed the human side, and it's like she's one of us.
When Chelsea Clinton introduced her mother, she said, "This is my mother, my hero, and the next president of the United States."
Yes, yes. And I was just like, so proud of her. She's grown up to be such a wonderful woman herself, and to do that. We saw Chelsea growing up in the White House, and here she is, supporting her mother. It's great, and I think that the country is going to be so much better because of her.
Mr. Figueroa, we have seen a macho country in many places. Do you think that it's placed to a woman to become president of this country?
I think it's long overdue for a woman. Yes, this country has been an exceptionally macho. Sadly, it's been white male dominated, but we've seen an evolution take place in our economy, in our politics, that it's finally reflecting the diverse people that we have.
Did Mr. Clinton unify the party, even though when he was at his administration, he had the biggest superávit, he created jobs, but there was only mistake, the relationship with Monica Lewinsky. Did that is over? Did that is nothing to do with today politics?
In my opinion, that was pure politics then. I mean, if Eisenhower had a mistress, Nixon had a mistress, Kennedy had a mistress, Lincoln had a mistress, Bush. The most famous scandal in the House was Thomas Jefferson having 7 kids to his mistress, who was his slave, but still the woman he loved.
Then was pure politics, is what you said.
Pure politics. It was under the guise of moral majority. We think that we're better, therefore we can dominate you. That's what happened to Bill Clinton with the Republicans.
And the same question to
and
you.
Let's not forget, during that time, Newt Gingrich had to leave because while he was prosecuting Bill Clinton, Newt Gingrich got a divorce for cheating on his wife who had cancer.
Then at that point, since we have all that kind of things, it really doesn't matter, that kind of relation, because he was very criticized for that relation with Mrs. Clinton.
Bill Clinton is Hillary Rodham's husband. To me, it's between them. There's couples that have open marriages. I'm not for that, but it's not my marriage. Who's to dictate? And I think that it was very political. It was something that happened in their marriage. She stood by him. And, who am I to say, you shouldn't?
Now I'm going to show you the clip from President Barack Obama where he endorsed the Secretary Clinton. He talks about that relation with her when she was mainly the Secretary of State. Also, when Mrs. Clinton was running against Mr. Barack Obama.
We don't fear the future, we shape it. We embrace it as one people, stronger together than we are on our own. That's what Hillary Clinton understands. this fighter, this stateswoman, this mother and grandmother, this public servant, this patriot, that's the America she's fighting for. And that is why I have confidence, as I leave this stage tonight, that the Democratic Party is in good hands. My time in this office, it hasn't fixed everything. As much as we've done, there's still so much I want to do. But for all the tough lessons I've had to learn, for all the places where I've fallen short, I've told Hillary, and I'll tell you what's picked me back up every single time. It's been you, the American people. It's the letter I keep on my wall from a survivor in Ohio who twice almost lost everything to cancer, but urged me to keep fighting for health care reform, even when the battle seemed lost. Do not quit. It's the painting I keep in my private office, a big-eyed green owl with blue wings, made by a 7-year-old girl who was taken from us in Newtown, given to me by her parents so I wouldn't forget. A reminder of all the parents who have turned their grief into action. It's the small business owner in Colorado who cut most of his own salary so he wouldn't have to lay off any of his workers in the recession, because he said that wouldn't have been in the spirit of America. It's the conservative in Texas who said he disagreed with me on everything, but he appreciated that, like him, I try to be a good dad. It's the courage of the young soldier from Arizona who nearly died on the battlefield in Afghanistan, but who has learned to speak again and walk again. And earlier this year, stepped through the door of the Oval Office on his own power to salute and shake my hand. It is every American who believed we could change this country for the better. So many of you who'd never been involved in politics, who picked up phones and hit the streets and used the internet in amazing new ways that I didn't really understand but made change happen. You are the best organizers on the planet, and I am so proud of all the change that you made possible. Time and again, you've picked me up. And I hope sometimes I picked you up too. And tonight, I ask you to do for Hillary Clinton what you did for me. I ask you to carry her the same way you carried me, because you're who I was talking about 12 years ago when I talked about hope. It's been you who fueled my dogged faith in our future, even when the odds were great, even when the road is long. Hope in the face of difficulty, hope in the face of uncertainty, the audacity of hope. America, you've vindicated that hope these past 8 years. And now I'm ready to pass the baton and do my part as a private citizen. So this year, in this election, I'm asking you to join me, to reject cynicism and reject fear, and to summon what is best in us to elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States and show the world we still believe in the promise of this great nation. Thank you for this incredible journey. Let's keep it going. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
Mr. Figueroa, your take about that speech by President Clinton.
Inspirational. long overdue, a real man supporting his wife. A lot of people have problem with a woman in charge. You know what? It's evident that Bill Clinton, you know, he is the man for Hillary. She is the next president, and I believe that she will take us to places we've never been before, higher and greater in this country.
And I know that I have to let you go, Mrs. Baca, because I have to have the extra hour for this show. But before you go, tell me about the speech by the Secretary Clinton when she accepted the nomination for the Democratic Party.
It was a moment in history, and as a woman, I'm very proud. But I'm not supporting, I have never supported Hillary Clinton because she's a woman. I mean, I'm excited that is a woman candidate, and I think that she's very intelligent, she's very well qualified, and if you do a comparison between her and Donald Trump, I mean, what are his credentials? You know, he's hateful, he's divisive, he's a liar, he's a cheater, you know, he does things to hurt people in his business. Instead of paying people, he files bankruptcy so that he doesn't pay them. I understand that bankruptcy is legal, and I support people that file bankruptcy because it's something that is in our government to protect people so they don't go to debtor's jail like in the past. But when you do that to not pay individual workers that have done work for you, then I have a problem with that.
Mr. Figueroa, we have only around 100 days from today to November the 8th. What should the Democratic Party do in order to win the election November 8th?
Well, different parts of the country, you do different things, but the bottom line is Michelle Obama says we got to get out there and knock on doors. We got to call our neighbors, our friends, and say, get out that vote. And you know what? We got to stand up to the Trump supporters and tell them they're wrong, that we will not allow them to take this country back, not 50 years, but 150 years before slavery.
Thank you very much, Mr. Figueroa, for being part of this, the first part of this segment. Thank you so much for your support, for your wisdom. Also, Mrs. Baca, thank you very much, and good luck in your campaign.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck in your campaign.
It's always an honor to be here.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Please stay with us. We're going to show you the second part of this FORO Politico. In the next part, we're going to talk about the Vice President nominee for the Democratic Party. And also, we had the third day of the convention, Michael Bloomberg. And also, we had Mr. Antonio Villaraigosa, who was speaking in that. And also, one of the important things that in this convention, they were showing immigrants, that they were talking about the immigration reform. Please stay with us.